Okay, guys, back to the shop with the Hudson here, Hudson H9. We are going to put it back together. Maybe clean it up a little bit here. Here's some. Meh. Whatever. Let's see. We'll start with putting our slide stop back in here. Go through this side. I'm sorry, I keep coming off camera with it, man. We're gonna go through this side here. Little hole. Drop her in. Boop. And then take your other side and make sure you line up the little keyways. And like snow. I'm gonna set it on my little block here. Give her a little whack. And whack. There we go. Make sure it's seated. That's all you need to do there. Nothing spectacular. The spring that goes inside, if you look, there's this little U-shaped cutout in the deal, and that'll help you orientate the spring. You're going to stick the leg in here, and then you're just going to kind of push it so that it snaps in like that. There. Okay. And that's all there is to that. No big deal. Now we go to the far more difficult part, and that is a matter of putting in our just brain farted. Our disconnector and sear part there. Again, I don't know what people are calling that damn thing. It is a sear. Now I'm starting on this side because it's just easier to, get things to line up in that hole. Now when you, let me backtrack a little bit for you. When you put it in, this piece fits in the gun like so, right? And your disconnector goes on top of that, just like that. Okay? Or excuse me, I'm bass-ackwards, man. Like that. So that the little pointed part of this disconnector faces towards the back of the gun. And so does this part. There, just like that. And that's how it'll go back inside. Now you've got to put the tip of this disconnector here in this hole, like so. And let's try it this way. I'll put this sear in there. I'll start the pin. Hello, pin. There we go. I'm gonna take some pliers here and grab it. Alright, I've got the pin started on the sear. And we'll set our disconnector in there as well. Let that go through. So the only thing we have left to put on this side here is our firing pin block, the little arm here, and you can just slide that down through the top, and as long as you get the hole lined up, you know it'll go in. No big deal. Which I did not do. Oh, son of a bitch. And the parts all come falling back out. These pins are really loose inside this gun, by the way. They're not even remotely tight. They don't need to be. They're retained by the frame, so there's no need for them to be tight at all. And it'll fit in. It needs to be like this inside the frame. There we go. Boop. So that little block needs to be able to move like that, because it pops up like this, right? It swings this way. So if you put it in the other way, the trigger won't work. None of that stuff will work right. Now, on the slightly more difficult portion of this, we're going to put our our ejector in there, and I'm going to start that pin, and you kind of need to hold the other pin in while you're doing this, because it's going to want to come flying out on you. Let's see here. The this sear here will go in like this. Alright, that's how it fits in the gun. So I'm trying to keep you guys from getting lost and discombobulated here. But I push that pin back out there. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to slide it in there and start my pin through it like that. Now you can take your spring. What I've made was a little pair of pliers that they're just cheap Chinese needle nose that I've heated up and bent around a punch so I can grab these little round springs like that and stick it in there like that. You should have there you go. Now that bent leg of the sear spring fits over the sear itself. It's got a little slot in the sear there, and that long tail fits back in this groove here. That's why it's relatively easy. You could probably do it with a regular pair of needle nose. You probably wouldn't even need these bent ones. I just like them because the spring doesn't go springing out of it. But that's all there is to this here. I'm going to set it down. Try not to turn it over one way or the other, because I have found that the pins inside the... Oh, you son of a bitch. So make sure that your firing pin stop actuator lever thingy is indeed up like that when you put that pin through there. But anyways, I'll set it down like this because those pins will want to fall out. So we're going to go back to the frame. We're going to stick our trigger, stick our trigger back in the gun as such, like that. Now we can put the magazine release back in. So put the magazine release back together, spring and its little plunger screw thing here, and just push it in, give it a little turn. And the frame, and stick it in. You're going to have to kind of like rotate it a little bit. You'll see how to wiggle it in, no big deal. And all you do, just turn the little screw, it's back in there, no problem. Actually I lied, that doesn't retain this one. How about that? Nope, it's only retained in by the little frame thing there. So we are going to put that chassis back into it. Now when you put it in, there is this gap here, this little tongue that sticks out off this deal, slides, this piece goes in between it. So when you put it back together and stick it in, kind of push it back there, and then just drop it in. Oh, before I forget to, almost got me. Don't forget to put your recoil assembly back in. I apologize. Here, because this is what retains it. So when you put that down on there, that's what holds all that in, just like that. Now I'm going to put our takedown lever back on, and you see the little flat right there on that guy. What you can do, there's a little spring in the hole, is what detents it. That's also the slide stop deal. I just stick it in there and I'll twist it, and then it kind of pops in pretty easy after that, because all you're trying to do is push, that spring in. You don't want to close it up. You don't want to push it into its thing yet, because you still have to get the slide on. As long as your sear is engaged with the trigger, which you can just go under here and just kind of push it forward just so it engages. This pin will fit right through the hole. Right through the hole. Son of a biscuit. Okay. Every time I've taken this gun apart, I keep doing the same thing. So I'm gonna. You guys may mess this up too, so now you know what's going on. Pull your damn takedown lever out. When you put your fire control frame, or whatever you want to call this thing, back in there, the little tail for the firing pin block, make sure it's behind the trigger. It's too many flappy friggin' parts in this thing, man. Like every single time I do that, man, and I never learn. Never learn. Anyways, so now the pin should fit back in there, no problem. You might have to give it a little guidance to get all the way in the hole. I think we're already in there. You'll see how it keys on there. Push it in, and you just need like a little tiny screwdriver or pick or something to push that detent forward, and use your thumb, and it'll pop in. And now you can rotate it back down, and it's retained. It's all there. We can take our mainspring and make sure it goes in there, makes contact with our disconnector and our sear, and it appears to make good. Yep. Your little beaver tail, slide it on in there, and then your back strap. We'll just call it back strap. He says strap in or strap on. But yeah. We'll just go that way. And all you have to do is just seat that in. It's not that big of a deal. So, there's your frame. There's your frame. Everything appears to work. Okay. Moving back to the slide. We're gonna sit that guy up there now. Back to slide. We're gonna start with the extractor. Put that guy down in its little hole, and we're gonna put our plunger. Now the extractor plunger has two sides to it, right? And most of them are this way. There's an actual rounded side. I don't know if you can tell the difference, but there's a rounded side and there's a flat side. The flat side goes against the spring. So when you put it in there, and you may have to use some pliers or something for this, but as long as it goes in the hole, I don't care how you get it there. Now the extractor itself, I just take that. Now that hook has got to fit on the inside there, and I'll just push the extractor straight back and down and see if I can't get it to drop in that hole. And the fucking detent's being retarded. Like that. Use the back of the extractor, push it in and down, and it falls down. Let's watch this video. This guy seems to know what he's doing. The plunger just does not want to cooperate with me, right, meow? Go in your hole. There we go. Come on, little plunger. Push back like you're supposed to. It's a pretty stout spring, man. There we go. Clicked in. Extractor moves properly, so we're good there. Okay. Now we need to take that little plunger and your striker, that little plunger. Try and line the hole up the best you can. Drop it in. You're probably gonna have to rotate it a little bit. Keep looking at the stupid spring like I missed something somewhere. I didn't miss anything. We're fine. But that little tiny pin there. The only thing I can come up with, the purpose on this thing, I really don't know its purpose. I'm not 100% sure why this is here. Who were the engineer that did this, whatever his name is, Sai, or whatever, the guy that developed the gun, started the company, man, he clearly knows why it's here. I don't fucking know. What you're going to put, well, let's start, don't forget, the striker, the return spring there. I kind of bent it back into shape. I'm not going to sit around and wait for another one, and I didn't have spring stock to accommodate it, so we'll stick it in there. Now you can take your firing pin block. The spring faces the outside. You can just drop it in there, and then you can run your striker in. Hear the click, it'll hold. Your striker spring here, it's probably, like when you compress this, it's probably worth just letting it go all the way forward, like that. Your end plate, we'll slide that on, like that. Little clickety clack there. The barrel go in, snap. There we go. Turn that in, push a little doowacky. Yeah, that seems to work. Now all we have left is our grip panels. Yeah, all those little goofy mistakes I've made putting this gun back together, I've done every single time. I don't know why, but I just can't seem to remember all that shit. And I'm not going to crank on them, dude. It's a little snugging down. It's steel on steel. They'll stay tight. Worst case scenario, put a little dot of Loctite on them. Ain't no big deal. You don't even have to take them off to disassemble the gun. They don't hold. Well, no, that's a lie. You have to pull that pin out. So you do have to take them off. It holds this pin in for your back strap. A little bit of snugging. A little bit of snugging. And that's it, man. That's all there is to putting that gun back together. I hope I showed you enough on this gun. Like I said, this thing, I guess it is steel, but it wouldn't take a blue, so I don't know if it's just magnetic stainless or... I'm not sure what it's made out of, but it certainly won't take any kind of bluing. Yeah, I mean, that's all there is to the gun. They're alright. I've shot it, not impressed, man. I shoot real low left with it. Not real low, but I mean, I'm about the same I shoot as a Glock, so I suck shooting Glocks, so I don't like Glocks. The gun does malfunction, or did malfunction rather, because this part here was rattling around in there, and then the striker, the edge of that striker broke off like I showed you in the disassembly, and that part was rattling around in there causing all kinds of havoc. It seems to be a pretty neat gun. I think it just needed a little more development, long-term wise. They probably could have done a little more engineering on it, I guess. I don't know. This whole, quote, low bore access thing to this gun, I still think, I mean, even as heavy as it is, I mean, this thing's all, I mean, it's probably heavier than the Beretta 92. It's got some stout weight to it, especially when you get ammo in it. I mean, I don't know, man. It's still kind of snappy. I don't know if my little paws don't hold on to it correctly, but it feels as snappy as my 1911s. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me, and I'm a little bit of an artard, but yeah, I'm not super impressed with the gun, especially for the price point that it was at. There are much nicer, much more reliable guns for that kind of money. I mean, in any of the HKs or SIGs, Berettas, I mean, CZs, you know, that were a lot better guns, man. So, personal opinion, but that's all there is to that, folks. Like, share, subscribe if you would. Questions, comments, put them down in the thingy below. Yeah, like I said, like, share, subscribe. Appreciate it, guys.